In 2187, humanity's first diplomatic meeting with the Alaxian Dominion erupts into chaos when pirates ambush the neutral meeting vessel. Lieutenant Commander Sophia Chen watches in awe and dread from the Earth vessel Pathfinder as Alaxian warships materialize from fold space, their crystalline hulls gleaming under the star's light. Their weapons, technology Earth scientists had only theorized about, reduced the pirates to molecular debris in seconds. But Chen's amazement turns to humiliation when the Alaxian commander, Vorthal, activates a holographic display showing the battle, zooming in on Earth's defensive maneuvers. Primitive, he sneers, highlighting tactical flaws with clinical precision. While other Earth officers shrink from the criticism, Chen notices something remarkable. Despite their technological superiority, the Alaxians follow predictable, almost ritualistic combat patterns. When Vorthal delivers his ultimatum, join as a protectorate species or remain isolated in your technological infancy, Chen's mind is already racing with possibilities no alien could anticipate. Back on the Pathfinder's bridge, tension hangs heavy in the recycled air. Captain Rivera stands rigid at the command console, knuckles white against the polished surface, as the Alaxian flagship maintains a perfect escort formation alongside them. Chen studies the alien vessel through the view screen, calculating trajectories and response times in her head. "They're toying with us," whispers Lieutenant Park from the tactical station. "One shot from those plasma cannons would vaporize our hull." Chen shakes her head, eyes narrowed. "It's not about firepower. Watch their navigation patterns. They're maintaining exact distances, perfect angles. They value precision above all else." "Your point, Commander?" Rivera asks, not taking his eyes off the alien ship. "They've optimized for conditions that don't exist," Chen replies, pulling up sensor data on her console. "Look at these readings. They're filtering out all radiation fluctuations, compensating for microgravitational shifts. They're creating a bubble of perfect vacuum around their ships." Rivera's expression remains skeptical, but Chen continues her analysis, fingers flying across her console. The data confirms her suspicions. The Alaxian shields and navigational systems are calibrated to unprecedented precision, but with an unexpected rigidity. "Their combat doctrine is based on perfect information," she murmurs, more to herself than her colleagues. "Perfect symmetry, perfect response patterns. And this helps us how?" Park asks. "They're still centuries ahead of us." Chen's reply is interrupted by a proximity alert. The Alaxian flagship is breaking formation, preparing to return to its fleet. On the command channel, Vorthal's voice carries that same note of dismissive superiority. "We will return in one standard solar cycle to receive your acceptance of protectorate status," the alien commander states. "Resistance would be..." He pauses, searching for the appropriate human term. "Unwise." As the alien vessel shimmers into fold space, disappearing from conventional sensors, Rivera turns to his officers, face grim. "Thoughts?" Most officers remain silent, the magnitude of Earth's technological disadvantage weighing heavily on them. But Chen steps forward, a dangerous glint in her eyes. "Captain, I have a proposal," she says, pulling up combat footage from the pirate encounter. "They've mastered fighting in a perfect environment, but humans have centuries of experience dealing with imperfection. And therein lies our advantage." 6 months after the humiliating first contact, Earth's fragmented nations forge an unprecedented alliance. In a tense United Nations emergency session, broadcast globally to billions, the new Earth Defense Coalition is born. Commander Chen, fresh from promotion, stands before skeptical generals and admirals in the hollowed-out lunar cavern that will become humanity's secret weapon. While holographic displays behind her show other teams racing to reverse-engineer Alaxian energy weapons, Chen switches off the main lights and activates a stunning 3D simulation. "We've been asking the wrong question," she announces, as the simulation shows Alaxian ships navigating with perfect precision. "They've mastered the perfect vacuum, but when have humans ever operated in perfect conditions?" The simulation shifts to show Earth vessels battling through solar flares, asteroid fields, and planetary atmospheres. Project DUSTDEVIL will exploit what they ignore: the chaos of real space. Admiral Takahashi, the program's most vocal critic, rises to leave. So while they build warships, you'll throw dust at them. The room tenses. Chen smiles and activates a final simulation showing an Alaxian vessel crippled by seemingly insignificant environmental factors. Exactly, sir. And they'll never see it coming. The project receives minimal funding, but Chen's office is flooded with applications from brilliant misfits intrigued by her impossible vision. The next morning, Chen stands alone at the viewport of Luna Base's observation deck, watching Earth rotate slowly against the blackness of space. The blue-green planet seems impossibly fragile from this distance, a vulnerability the Alaxians had recognized immediately. The door hisses open behind her. "They're calling it the dust bin," says Dr. Elena Kuznetsov, tossing a tablet onto the bench beside Chen. The theoretical physicist's expression is a mixture of amusement and irritation. "Your pet project. Half the coalition thinks you've lost your mind." Chen scrolls through the resource allocations on the tablet. A skeleton crew, outdated equipment, and a research station tucked away in Saturn's rings. "It's better this way," she says quietly, flying under the radar. "You realize what we're up against?" Kuznetsov challenges. "Their energy weapons alone are irrelevant if they can't target effectively." Chen interrupts, pulling up her own data. "Look at these atmospheric interaction patterns from the pirate engagement. Their targeting systems completely recalibrated for a minor solar wind fluctuation." She expands the visualization. "They're overcompensating, Elena. It's like watching someone try to perform surgery with oven mitts because they're afraid of a speck of dust." Kuznetsov studies the data, her skepticism gradually giving way to curiosity. "So instead of competing on their terms, we make them compete on ours," Chen finishes. "Where's the one place humanity has always excelled? Adapting to hostile conditions." She activates a simulation showing microparticles interacting with Alaxian shield harmonics. Even their most advanced systems follow predictable patterns, mathematical perfection that becomes a vulnerability when the variables change. The physicist's eyes widen as she grasps the implications. "You're not just throwing dust," she whispers. "You're weaponizing chaos itself." Chen nods, watching as her simulation shows the particles creating cascading failures across Alaxian systems. "I need the best minds who understand physics at the quantum level, people who can think beyond conventional weapon systems." Kuznetsov straightens, decision made. "I'll contact my colleagues at CERN and Bangalore Tech. But you should know," she adds with a wry smile, "they're as unconventional as your theories." "Perfect," Chen replies. "Conventional thinking won't save us when the Alaxians return." The cramped research outpost nestled within Saturn's rings barely qualifies as a military installation. For 18 months, Chen's team has worked in obscurity, their unorthodox approach mocked by mainstream military channels. Dr. Eliza Okonkwo, formerly Cambridge's most promising physicist, calibrates the spiderweb launcher while arguing with Chen. The electrostatically charged particles will adhere to any hull material they encounter, but we've never tested against Alaxian alloys. Behind them, engineers test EMP systems designed to conduct through space dust and gravitational lenses that focus solar radiation into devastating beams. Chen's retort is cut short when alarms blare. Sensors detect an Alaxian scout ship materializing nearby. "They're scanning the outpost," reports Lieutenant Park, terror in his voice. The installation has minimal conventional defenses. Chen's eyes narrowed as she makes a decision that will either end humanity's hopes or change the course of history. Deploy spiderweb prototype. Now, the untested system activates, launching a cloud of particles seemingly harmless to conventional scanners. The Alaxian vessel, its perfect lines gleaming against Saturn's rings, moves closer, then suddenly convulses as the particles adhere to its hull, creating cascading system failures across its perfect symmetry. The alien ship's engines flare erratically as it retreats, trailing a plume of vented plasma. In the stunned silence that follows, Dr. Okonkwo whispers, "My God, it actually worked." Though classified at the highest levels, footage of the encounter, somehow leaked, spreads through military bases in whispered conversations and encrypted messages, igniting something Earth's forces desperately needed: hope. Diagnostics complete, Dr. Kwan announces, fingers dancing across holographic displays. 93% of the spiderweb particles achieved adhesion. The remaining 7% were countered by their hull's electromagnetic field. The research team crowds around the central table in what they've come to call the War Room, a converted storage module with hastily installed equipment. The data from the encounter with the Alaxian scout ship scrolls across multiple screens, each scientist analyzing different aspects of the unexpectedly successful test. Their systems prioritized perfect navigation over threat response. Chen notes, highlighting reaction timestamps. Look at this delay, almost 3 seconds between particle contact and countermeasure deployment. That's an eternity in combat. They've never needed to react faster, says Lieutenant Park, the former fighter pilot whose quick reflexes had helped deploy the system. Their technological advantage has always given them time to respond methodically. Dr. Okonkwo manipulates a 3D model of the Alaxian vessel showing particle distribution across its hull. The beauty is in the simplicity, she marvels. We didn't damage their ship with brute force. We created thousands of tiny imperfections across their systems, each one insignificant alone, but catastrophic together. Like 1,000 paper cuts instead of a single sword stroke, Chen agrees. They'll adapt, warns Dr. Kwan, ever the pragmatist. Next time, their electromagnetic fields will be calibrated differently. Chen nods, already considering the implications, which is exactly what we want. Every adaptation they make to counter these particles will reduce efficiency elsewhere in their systems. She pulls up a new simulation. If they strengthen their hull fields against spiderweb, they'll have to divert power from their weapons or navigation systems. A no-win scenario, Park realizes, eyes widening. Precisely. Chen's smile is fierce. The more they try to perfect their defense against one type of chaos, the more vulnerable they become to others. A priority communication alert interrupts them. Admiral Takahashi's stern face appears on the main screen. "Commander Chen, what the hell happened out there? We're getting reports of an Alaxian vessel retreating from Saturn in distress." Chen straightens, meeting his gaze evenly. "Sir, Project DUSTDVIL has just completed its first successful field test. Tactical display confirms 5 Alaxian warships emerging from fold space near Martian orbit. The Earth Defense Fleet Command Center falls silent as the massive alien vessels dwarf humanity's most advanced ships. Fleet Admiral Zhao orders all vessels to defensive positions, knowing they face impossible odds. The battle unfolds with brutal efficiency. Alaxian precision cutting through Earth's conventional defenses despite heroic resistance. On Phobos, Commander Chen watches the carnage from her ready room, surrounded by her team of scientific misfits. "They're dying up there," whispers Dr. Okonkwo. Chen nods grimly. "Launch now. All DUSTDVIL craft." 6 unimpressive vessels detach from Phobos' shadow, small enough that the Alaxians' tactical systems classify them as debris or escape pods. Chen's voice is steady on the command channel. "Radiation web patterns Alpha through Delta. Kinetic tethers on my mark." The small ships release countless microscopic emitters that begin generating localized radiation storms precisely calibrated to interfere with Alaxian sensory systems. From the planet below, gravitational anchors launch, creating tethered kinetic mines that use Mars' gravitational field for explosive acceleration. An Alaxian commander, visible through a communication channel hijacked by Chen's team, shows the first expression humans have ever seen on their faces: confusion. What is this chaos? He demands as his perfect tactical displays dissolve into contradictory data. The flagship's crystalline hull vibrates at frequencies its designers never anticipated, creating harmonics that cascade through its navigation systems. 3 Alaxian vessels drift powerless, their symmetrical perfection now marred by scorched hulls and venting atmosphere. The remaining 2 retreat in disarray. On Earth, billions watching the battle through satellite feeds erupt in celebrations. But in her command chair, Chen already plots the next innovation, knowing the Alaxians will adapt. The aftermath of battle presents a surreal tableau. Chen's shuttle glides through the debris field where Earth vessels had made their last stand before DUSTD-EVIL's intervention. Beyond floats a disabled Alaxian warship, its crystalline structure now clouded with microscopic imperfections, like a diamond suddenly gone milky with inclusions. Boarding parties report minimal resistance, Lieutenant Park says through the comm. They're disoriented. Medical teams say the Alaxians are experiencing something similar to vertigo. They can't seem to process the environmental fluctuations. Chen studies the sensor readings from the crippled alien vessel. Their neural systems are intimately connected to their ships. When we disrupted their perfectly calibrated environment, we essentially gave them sensory overload. Humanitarian concerns? Asks Dr. Kuznetsov, joining them on the observation deck. They're stabilizing, Chen assures her. But this confirms our theory. They've optimized themselves for such precise conditions that even minor variations cause systemic failure. A priority communication interrupts them. The holographic projector reveals Admiral Zhao, his normally impassive face alight with cautious wonder. Commander Chen, I just reviewed the battle telemetry. Your unconventional approach saved what remained of our fleet. Thank you, sir. But the Alaxians will analyze this engagement thoroughly. Their next attack will account for our current methods. Then we'd better develop new ones, Zhao replies. The Defense Council is convening in 1 hour. Your presence is requested, along with complete specifications for Project DUSTD-EVIL and any resource requirements you need. After the transmission ends, Kuznetsov turns to Chen. From the dust bin to the war room in one engagement. Not bad. It won't be enough, Chen says, staring at the disabled Alaxian vessel. This was just one battle. They'll return with countermeasures for everything we demonstrated today. So we give them new puzzles to solve, Park suggests. Ken nods, her mind already racing. Exactly. And each adaptation will force them further from their comfort zone of perfect precision. She manipulates the holographic display, bringing up designs for next-generation environmental manipulators. Their entire civilization is built on predictability and control. We're going to make them fight in a universe where neither exists. The Budget Committee has approved your request in full, Commander Chen. The words, so impossible just weeks ago, now come with a presidential handshake broadcast to every corner of Earth and its colonies. DUSTD-EVIL headquarters relocates from a cramped Phobos outpost to a sprawling facility carved into Ceres, with research divisions expanding in every direction. For 2 feverish years, humanity's brightest minds converge on Chen's vision, while military shipyards scramble to retrofit the fleet. Meanwhile, intercepted communications reveal turmoil within the Alaxian command structure. Their rigid hierarchy, unchanged for centuries, fractures over how to respond to the inexplicable defeat. Their military doctrine is based on perfect information and predictable outcomes, explains Chen to the Earth Defense Council, projecting images of the Alaxian fleet reorganizing near Neptune. When we introduce chaos as a weapon, they must either adapt or fail. The Alaxians choose adaptation, arriving with modified shields designed to repel environmental manipulation. Chen takes personal command of the human fleet near Europa, her flagship carrying the next evolution of DUSTD-EVIL technology. Swarms of microscopic drones programmed to identify and exploit the precise atomic frequency of Alaxian hull materials. As the battle begins, Europa's ice-covered oceans reflect an otherworldly light show. Radiation cascades in blues and greens, kinetic impacts flare orange-white, and the drone swarms create rippling patterns of gold across the Alaxian vessels. The luminous engagement, as it's immediately dubbed in media broadcasts, becomes humanity's first decisive victory. But the most significant consequence comes days later when encrypted transmissions flood Earth's receivers, messages from 17 species under Alaxian control, all asking the same question: how did you defeat them? The observation lounge of the EDS Adaptive hums with activity as Chen studies the holographic battle replay. Europa hovers at the center, its icy surface reflecting the cosmic light show that had unfolded during the engagement. Dr. Okonkwo manipulates the controls, highlighting the swarm behavior of the quantum phase drones. "They're beautiful," murmurs Chen, watching the microscopic machines coordinate in complex, seemingly random patterns, like a murmuration of starlings. "That's exactly the design inspiration," Okonkwo confirms. "Biological systems that achieve complex coordination without centralized control, something the Alaxians struggle to comprehend." Admiral Zhao enters, accompanied by Dr. Kuznetsov, and an unfamiliar figure, humanoid but clearly alien, with iridescent skin that shifts colors with each movement. "Commander Chen," Zhao says formally, "may I present Nexel, diplomatic representative of the Melusian Collective." Chen's surprise is evident. The Melusians were known to be one of the first species subjugated by the Alaxian Dominion centuries ago, serving as technical specialists for their fleet. "Your innovation has created opportunities," Nexel says, voice melodic despite the translator. "Many within the Dominion have watched your resistance with great interest. 17 species have made contact so far," Kuznetsov adds, bringing up a galactic map showing points of origin. "All former independent worlds, all with technical expertise the Alaxians exploit. They control us through technological superiority," Nexel explains. "But your methods demonstrate that superiority is contextual." Chen studies the alien carefully. "You want our environmental manipulation technology." "We want partnership," Nexel corrects. "Each species under Alaxian control possesses knowledge they've compartmentalized to prevent rebellion. Together, with your approach to combat, we could create something entirely new." Chen finishes, mind racing with possibilities. Admiral Zhao clears his throat. "The political implications are complex, Commander. The Defense Council is still deliberating on." "With respect, Admiral," Chen interrupts, "we can't afford to deliberate. The Alaxians are already adapting their shields. Our next engagement will be considerably more difficult." She turns to Nexel. "What can your people offer?" The alien skin flashes with patterns of green and gold, their equivalent of a smile. "Their crystalline technology. We built it, and we know precisely how it fails." The neutral station floating at the system's edge resembles a crystalline snowflake, Alaxian architecture blended with human practicality, a visual representation of the unprecedented diplomatic summit about to occur. Admiral Chen, her uniform adorned with new medals from grateful nations, stands alone in the observation lounge, watching the Alaxian diplomatic vessel approach. Its perfect symmetry now seems less impressive, more rigid. "They've requested your personal presence in the negotiation chamber," reports her aide nervously. "Alone. Security protocols would prohibit this, but Chen understands the symbolic importance. The negotiation chamber's air carries an unfamiliar spice as 12 Alaxian high commanders form a perfect circle around a raised platform, where Chen stands facing the grand strategist, Morlath. The alien's silver skin reflects the carefully calibrated lighting as they begin with rehearsed demands, technology exchanges, restricted human expansion, supervised military development. Chen listens silently, then activates a holographic display showing 17 worlds under Alaxian control where resistance movements have grown exponentially since the luminous engagement. "You no longer negotiate from a position of absolute power," she states, offering counterterms. "Recognition of Earth's sovereignty establishment of a neutral zone, and limited mutual technology exchange. Morlath signals dismissal of the other Alaxians. When they're alone, the alien's formal posture relaxes slightly. How did your species advance so rapidly? Our strategic models predicted centuries before you could challenge us. Chen's smile is both diplomatic and predatory. You mastered the perfect vacuum over centuries, but we mastered imperfection. You never considered that chaos could be weaponized with such precision. When they emerge hours later, the Treaty of Europa establishes humanity as a power to be respected, not conquered. As the Alaxian delegation departs, Chen notices subtle asymmetries in their vessel's design. The first sign they've begun adapting to humanity's chaotic innovation. The journey back to Earth aboard the EDF's Adaptive gives Chen time to contemplate the negotiations' unexpected turns. She sits in her private quarters, studying the finalized Treaty of Europa through tired eyes, when Dr. Kuznetsov enters with a data tablet. Analysis of their diplomatic vessel, she explains, projecting a 3D model that rotates slowly between them. Look at these modifications. Deliberate asymmetry in the propulsion array, variable shield harmonics. They're starting to implement our principles. Chen zooms in on specific sections, not just implementing, improving. These adaptations show remarkable creativity for a culture that's valued perfect symmetry for millennia. Should we be concerned? Kuznetsov asks. On the contrary, Chen replies, it's exactly what I hoped for. Their rigidity was always their greatest weakness. If they become more adaptive, more creative, they become less predictable. Kuznetsov finishes, frowning. How is that beneficial? Chen stands, moving to her viewport where Earth now dominates the view. Because this was never about winning a war, Elena. It was about survival. Humanity's, and theirs. A civilization that cannot adapt eventually dies. A priority communication interrupts them. Admiral Zhao, with the Defense Council's response to the treaty terms. They've approved everything, he reports, barely containing his surprise. But there's more. We've received encrypted communications from representatives of 5 more species under Alaxian control. They're requesting diplomatic relations and technical advisors. Technical advisors. Kuznetsov questions. They want to learn our approach to technology, Zhao explains. Not just our environmental manipulation systems, but our entire innovation philosophy. Chen's expression remains carefully neutral, but her eyes reflect deep satisfaction. The Alaxians conquered through technological superiority. Will liberate through technological philosophy. She gestures to the treaty document. Send them a response. Earth will welcome representatives of any species seeking partnership in adaptive innovation. As Zhao's hologram fades, Kuznetsov studies Chen with new understanding. This was your plan all along, wasn't it? Not just to defend Earth, but to transform the entire power structure. Not consciously, Chen admits, but once I understood what truly separated us from the Alaxians. She smiles. Imperfection isn't just our advantage, it's our gift to the galaxy. The ambassadorial ship's viewports frame an alien sunset on Tarn 3, formerly an Alaxian mining colony, now the third world this month to formally request Earth's protection. Admiral Chen, her once black hair now streaked with silver, stands beside the Nathian ambassador, an insectoid being whose species had served as technical support for Alaxian fleets for centuries. They never allowed us near combat systems. The ambassador clicks through its translator. They feared what we might learn. The gathering in the ceremonial hall includes representatives from 7 formerly subjugated species, each bringing unique technological and scientific perspectives to what media outlets are calling the Adaptive Alliance. Back on Earth, sprawling innovation centers combine technologies unimaginable a decade earlier. Engineers from aquatic Melosian worlds collaborate with human geneticists to develop biological systems that self-repair in vacuum. Quantum physicists from crystalline, Drev colonies work alongside Earth's AI specialists to create combat systems that thrive on tactical uncertainty, their decision matrices deliberately incorporating controlled randomness. Former Alaxian security specialists, defectors from the increasingly isolated Dominion, help redesign human armor to reconfigure in real time based on attack patterns. A leaked Alaxian High Command assessment, now displayed in the Earth Defense Academy's main hall, summarizes their growing desperation. Human combat doctrine, spreading across 17 former Protectorate worlds, fundamentally rejects our core principles of perfect symmetry and predictable engagement. Their ships appear crude, their formations chaotic, yet each seeming weakness masks deliberate tactical advantage. Most concerning, they continue to evolve while we struggle to maintain strategic cohesion. Chen forwards this assessment to her protege, Captain Maya Rodriguez, adding a personal note. They still don't understand. It's not about technology. It's about embracing adaptation itself. The Joint Innovation Center's central atrium bustles with activity that would have been unimaginable 5 years earlier. Admiral Chen walks slowly among the collaborative teams, observing with quiet satisfaction the extraordinary mixing of species and disciplines. Dr. Kuznetsov joins her, tablet in hand. The Drev crystallographers have made a breakthrough, she reports excitedly. Their quantum field models combined with Nathian bioengineering principles have yielded adaptive hull materials that actually learn from damage patterns. Chen studies the simulation data, self-healing technology that gets stronger with each attack. The Alaxians will find this disconcerting. That's putting it mildly, Kuznetsov laughs. Their entire strategic doctrine is built on predictable damage models. They pause at a demonstration tank where Malosian researchers manipulate what appears to be living metal, forming and reforming complex structures through subtle bioelectric fields. Have you seen the latest intelligence from the Dominion? Kuznetsov asks, her voice lowered. Chen nods grimly. Civil unrest on 6 core worlds. Their hierarchy is fracturing as traditional and reformist factions compete for influence. Is that what we wanted? To destabilize their entire civilization? No, Chen answers firmly. The goal was never destruction. It was transformation. She gestures around the atrium. Look at what we've accomplished together. Species that never communicated now collaborate freely, combining perspectives that would have remained separate under Alaxian control. Their conversation is interrupted by a young human officer. Admiral, we've received an encrypted transmission from Vorfall. Chen's eyebrows rise in surprise. The former fleet commander. He disappeared after the Europa engagement. He's requesting asylum, the officer explains. And he's bringing 20 senior Alaxian engineers with him, all reformists who want to join the Adaptive Alliance. Kuznetsov stares in disbelief. Vorfall, the same commander who called us primitive at first contact. Chen's expression softens with understanding. The ultimate victory isn't forcing others to adapt to us. It's inspiring them to choose adaptation for themselves. The observation deck of Harmony Station, Earth's diplomatic headquarters orbiting a neutron star at the galaxy's crossroads, offers a panoramic view that would have seemed impossible 20 years earlier. Admiral Chen, now Earth's senior diplomat at 72, leans on her ceremonial cane as 30 distinctive vessels approach, each representing a species that once lived under Alaxian dominion or in fear of their expansion. The Summit on Cooperative Galactic Governance marks humanity's greatest diplomatic achievement, not conquest, but transformation. The Alaxian vessel arrives last, its design a revelation. Asymmetrical sections, adaptive hull configurations, and visible modification ports that would have been considered heretical under their old doctrine. A young Alaxian diplomat, Ren Val, approaches Chen with the formal three-handed gesture now common in interspecies protocol. The Reformist Council sends their deepest respects. Admiral, the diplomat says, voice modulator adjusted to convey genuine emotion, another departure from tradition. You transformed not merely combat doctrine, but our civilization's fundamental approach to existence. Chen studies the youngster, noting the personalized modifications to the traditional Alaxian uniform, small expressions of individuality unthinkable before. Our ship designers review the Europa engagement in mandatory education now. Renval continues. Your species taught us that true advancement comes not from perfecting what we know, but from embracing what we don't. Chen's mind flashes to Vorthal's sneering face at first contact, the condescension in his voice when he called humans primitive. She smiles, the decades of struggle evident in the lines around her eyes. Imperfection was always our advantage, she responds simply. As delegates file into the great chamber, humanity takes its place, not as the most technologically advanced species, but as the one that transformed how the galaxy approaches technology itself. Chen's final official report, transmitted to Earth that evening, contains a single conclusion that would become humanity's unofficial motto among the stars. We didn't master the vacuum. We mastered ourselves. And that made all the difference. Later that evening, after the formal proceedings have concluded, Chen finds herself in Harmony Station's botanical garden, a sprawling ecosystem combining flora from 27 worlds. Sitting by a pool of luminescent Melosian water lilies, she reflects on the journey that began with humiliation and desperation 2 decades ago. Admiral Chen. The voice belongs to Vorthal, now the senior technical advisor to the Alaxian Reformist Council. The years have softened his once rigid bearing, and his ceremonial uniform bears the asymmetrical insignia of the new Alaxian paradigm. You still call me Admiral, Chen observes with a small smile. I haven't commanded a fleet in years. Some titles transcend their original meaning, Vorthal replies, settling beside her on the bench. His movements are more fluid now, less mechanical. The summit was a success beyond all projections. The Treaty of Cooperative Innovation will change the galaxy, Chen agrees. 30 species sharing technological philosophy rather than hoarding discoveries. Vorthal studies the water lilies, which pulse with gentle bioluminescence. I have often reflected on our first encounter, Admiral. Your primitive vessels, your chaotic tactics. He pauses. I was wrong in ways I couldn't comprehend at the time. We were both products of our cultures, Chen answers diplomatically. Perhaps, the Alaxian concedes, but you saw beyond yours. You recognized that imperfection wasn't a flaw to be eliminated, but a strength to be embraced. He gestures to the garden around them, where plants from different worlds grow together in beautiful disharmony. This is what we nearly destroyed, the chaotic beauty of diversity. Chen's hand, worn by age and decorated with the subtle scars of decades in space, rests momentarily on the Alaxian's 3-fingered appendage. The greatest technological breakthrough wasn't our environmental manipulation systems or adaptive combat doctrines, she says quietly. It was learning that true innovation comes from embracing the unknown rather than fearing it. Above them, through the garden's transparent dome, ships from 30 civilizations orbit in patterns that follow no perfect symmetry, yet move in profound harmony, much like the galaxy itself.